Alexa, what time is it? Okay, Google, what time is it? That's gonna fuck up a few people, isn't it? Anyway, it's Nick back again for no particular reason. I just felt like, well, I haven't spoken to you for a while. I just haven't, that's all. It's like, kind of like, hey, we haven't met for a little while, so I just thought I'd pop back on the camera and talk to you. And like, yeah, no, wouldn't that be a good thing? In my usual amazing studio of like where I sit and where I work every single day, right? Uh, I don't know what people are up to these days. I did a video when I was 35 on this same channel. That's 9 years ago now, okay? And I pointed out how out of touch I was then. These days it's kind of like I walk out of the house, it's like, what planet am I on? Seriously, you just like, the world has gone insane, but I'm one of the most sane people you could ever watch a video by, ever. Apart from when I talk about my favourite subjects, alright, which is weird things. So here we have a weird thing. Now, I've shown you one of these things before. This is from the same website, which is radionicsmagic.net, and this is their Hieronymus machine. So it's got two dials here. I don't know whether you can see my mouse pointer there, but there we go. There we go. Two dials up there. We've got various different buttons here which deal with various different things. This is another one of those quasi-psionic devices. So you use these wonderful controls as well as entering numbers in down here in order to try and set what your personal healing goal is. So obviously I'm not turning around to you and telling you this cures any diseases and so on and so forth. It's more like something which you can use as an adjunct to everything else. It's more like a spiritual healing concentration device more than anything. So I like the way it structures everything. So you can click on the subtle bodies button and you can get different figures or different names up for the various different things, mental body, astral body. These are all within spiritual healing thinking, different layers of your aura and of your being, and they all connect to different aspects of your consciousness and what you are and who you are. And there's numerical values for those things there, and also for your organs, heart, lungs, kidneys. So let's say you're basically praying for someone or meditating for someone or ritualing for someone or candle burning for someone who has got, let's say, a lymphatic disorder. Okay, you can do that, and then you can work out what particular extra energy or whatever you want to put in for whatever particular disease. And the numbers down here. Whoops. There we go. The various different numbers would connect to what you've seen on the various different rate books which are out there online, and you can have those set in. Remember, within this particular system, your numbers are, your sigil. It's like the symbol you're putting in, but it's put into a numerical code. So if you got like a 10-digit code, alright, that would be quite a relatively unique number, okay? If you think about it, one singular number in a 10-digit code would be a 1 in 10 chance of happening, okay? You've got 2 digits, then it can be anything up to 100, okay? And then 3, 1,000, okay? So if you had, let's say, a 10-digit stream of numbers, you can imagine how the multiplication goes up and how specifically unique and therefore focused and targeted that number is. Now this thing down here is essentially their version of a stick plate, which means that it's the place where you're supposed to use your mouse. If you feel a stick reaction, that's kind of like a random way of detecting, so to speak, when you get a positive reaction. And you got this extra slidery thing up here, which essentially does other stuff. I mean, it's just another great way of doing stuff, I haven't studied the Hieronymus method before because I just haven't done it. Alright, there's books on how it's done, and they all work on the 2-dial machines. I mean, these things here are your various different wells which would normally be put into a physical device for the creation of homeopathic remedies, and taking the witness sample like your fingernail or a piece of your hair with the root still on it containing the DNA, because the physical devices, they're there to send information to your DNA. That's the whole idea, and you use the meditation and the rest of that to help send that through, and all of the working on the machine, whether it's symbolic like this computer application, the virtual Hieronymus instrument for tablets, okay, or whether it's all your, your candles and your chanting, that's all there to create, as it were, the thought form which you're sending out. I mean, everything that Peter J. Carroll wrote about in Libanol and Psychonaut, and all the writings and things like, Liber Chaos and all that stuff, it's all applicable to this machine, to this particular symbolical system, to this thing. Now, one thing that's weird is whenever you watch videos about this stuff, they always say it's a circuit diagram which has the power. And when there is a change in the circuit diagram, when someone tries to replicate it, it kind of like loses its effect. And I think that's curious. It's almost as if some people are suggesting that all of this symbolism of a electrical circuit, okay, with your stick pad there and your dials up there and your various electronic components and batteries and thing there, if it's drawn, it has the same power as if there was a physical machine with all the wiring, okay, with the coils and just everything. But just like I just thought that's really really strange that there's some people say if you draw it differently, if the proportions are wrong, if the symbolism is wrong, the electronic symbolism is not accurate, then it doesn't actually do its thing. Which is curious, because you'd have thought that with, I mean, if you look at like the Sangiovini cards I mentioned earlier on, those things does the same stuff as this, okay? It's symbols. It's just essentially symbols which have a particular influence upon the person because it has numbers in it which represent proportions of something, which therefore is a coarse-grained resolution expression of some kind of mystery or some kind of energy or some kind of spiritual or something or other, or a representation of a homeopathic remedy, or a representation of a crystal or a herb or a flower or an oil or an energy or part of the being. Okay? So maybe this thing has been around so long that like, and it is like my opinion that there is some kind of like universal consciousness which does communicate through energy, and symbolism is somehow a part of it, and information through it is somehow a part of it. I haven't developed mastery in it, so you don't turn around to me and say, hey Nick, why aren't you walking on water yet, if you're making all these damn claims. I'm not making claims, I'm telling you, what the way I understand it. This has become a symbol. This has become a kind of like gateway or key or something to help to bring about information which can then have an effect on an energetic level somehow, whether it's just the thoughts of one person affecting the thoughts of another, or whether it's like something a little bit more amazing. I mean, it's difficult for me to like get my head around it at times. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be an electronic engineer. I didn't want to be involved in all this weird stuff. I just ended up this way. It's like this work chose me, this lifestyle chose me. Because I ended up with restrictions upon my life, and ended up with strange experiences, and those strange experiences taught me like stuff. Because of that, I ended up, doing stuff. It's just like, it's weird. It's just plain weird. I mean, just look at it. I mean, if you had a couple of good quality felt tip pens, and a very good ruler, and you were good at like, art, and you had a steady hand, you could draw this fucking thing. And maybe it would have some kind of like usefulness when it comes to your meditation and all the rest of that. I mean, this is just my thinking. It's just like, and it's not like the arcane runes or, the astrological symbols or the imagery of the 72 spirits from Lesser Key of Solomon, but in some respects it is, if you know what I mean. It's developed meaning, it's developed importance, it's developed its own power and potential. It's got some kind of existence within conscious reality somehow. And of course there's like the circuit diagram for the other like 10-rate radionic machine and all that kind of stuff. I mean, these drawn circuit diagrams and people using meditation on circuit diagrams in order to have an effect upon their consciousness and to affect the consciousness of other people, and hypothetically to have a healing effect upon other people's bodies. This is a thing now. It's been a thing since like the early 20th century. It's developing as more of a thing, and there's this like renaissance of this radionic psionic ideas, either through physical or through digital, or indeed like all this stuff, or indeed people just writing stuff down. And if people are just writing stuff down, you know, they're using their dowsing pendulum, and they're just writing down various rates and writing down broadcast times, because like with all these things, you know, you dowse for whatever, you know, the right rate, the right number. And then there's a broadcast time. You say, I'm sending this out for so long, you write it down, and then you walk away. Or you press the button on the machine, and there's like lights flashing, and it's doing something, and there's a little electromagnetic stuff going on inside because it's battery powered. And then that is broadcasting the energy to somebody else. That's the whole idea behind it. But I'm just going to stop here right now because it's getting a bit too weird even for me. I mean, well, no, okay, it can't get too weird for me. It's just like, you know, the whole skeptical aspects of my mentality is slowly ebbing away. They're kind of like, you know, the kind of like understanding of this without any dogma, without any bullshit from other people's thinking is kind of like sinking in. And I'm kind of like working through stuff and settling into something, using what I know and I've experienced in a different way. Siri, what time is it? That's going to fuck people up as well. Look after yourself. Bye for now.